This broadcast is a Stephen K. Media production.
The success of the small business person is the cornerstone of the American economy. Welcome to the Small Business Today Show with your hosts, Cruz and Hughes. The Small Business Today Show is for and about small business advancement and development. What we do for you. We'll be taking your calls as we provide you small business intelligence and mentorship needed to grow your business creatively. Keep listening. The Small Business Today Show with Cruz and Hughes starts now.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Small Business Today with Cruz and Hughes right here on Blog Talk Radio, where we broadcast live Monday through Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. This is the place where we discuss the topics that inspires entrepreneurs from thought to action. So if you're listening to us, then you know it's the 5 o'clock hour at least in the central part of the United States. And we have a guest here today. If you're watching us on cruzandhughes.com, you'll see that there is a gentleman sitting to Irvin's left, and we're going to introduce him here very shortly. But first, Irvin.
Sir.
How was your day today, sir?
Wonderful, man.
Tell me all about it.
Man, let me tell you what. You know what I did? I spent the day with some small business owners.
Mm-hmm. Not the same group you were with last evening.
No, not the same group.
Okay.
Not the same group. You know, I get around, John.
I see that.
Yeah, but you do too.
I do my best.
Yeah, you do your best, right? Yeah. John is so modest on this show. But no, I had a great day. You know, a lot of small business owners right now are running into issues where they're trying to get access to capital and credit. And as you know, that's the business I'm in.
Right.
And so I spent the day with business owners who are looking to reposition themselves, so to speak, so that they can get access to
I love that word.
Capital.
Reposition.
Yes.
Reposition.
That's good, isn't it?
Yeah, I've been repositioned a few times myself in small business. So, but I know that they're working with the right guy. You know, that was a lovely group that you were with last night.
Oh,
as well.
yeah.
Eager young entrepreneurs.
Yes, that's right.
I can tell that they're doing everything that you're instructing them to do, and I expect and anticipate that they're going to have great success.
Well, let me tell you what, man. I appreciate you mentioning that on the air, John. These guys are really humbling to work with. These entrepreneurs have really come out, taken the information that we've provided for them. All of them are listeners on this show.
Yeah.
So, yeah, guys, if you're listening and you're watching, we're talking about you. Don't worry, we won't embarrass you. And these guys are just doing a great job.
You know, I wanted to tell a quick story. I had a teacher once who taught for, I want to say, somewhere in the neighborhood of about 60 years.
Wow.
And she's since passed, but before she died, I asked her, you know, what would make you want to teach that long?
Right.
And the thing that she told me was it inspired her to keep living as she worked with individuals who loved life as much as kids did.
Right.
And in seeing that group that you were with last night, I sort of thought about that because, I mean, they were just anxious and
absolutely
eagerly awaiting, you know, to get into their businesses and to do the things that they've always dreamed of doing.
Right.
And I can see why you love teaching and working with small businesses. So
absolutely.
I even got inspired by them.
Well, I will tell you what, you had some inspirational words for those guys, and I really, really appreciate it because they all of them were repeating the words from the great John Cruz.
Well, they inspired me. So
yeah. Well, you know what? Though I think what we've done here to kick off an opportunity for young entrepreneurs, small business owners, to get access to the kinds of people that we had at the function on last night is phenomenal.
Absolutely.
They were absolutely humbled, and just leaving last night, one of them came up and said, I'm trying to think of what I would need to do or what sort of circumstances would line up such that I would meet some of the people, the levels of success, the skill sets. How would I meet these kind of people if it were not for a venue like this?
Wow.
So, I mean,
and that's a good point.
They got it.
Yeah.
They got it.
I appreciate that. And then, you know, we're going to have some of them come on. So as they reach those goals, hit those benchmarks that you set for them, we got to have them come on and talk about it.
Absolutely. And I, you know what, I just want to throw you know, we don't do this on the show, but I'm going to throw a shout out.
Okay.
To STL Supply. Company.
STL Supply Company.
You know what happened is the owner of that company is a young lady. Her name is Lisa Spencer.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been thrilled to work with her and her husband on their new supply company.
Mm-hmm.
And she is so tenacious
Yeah.
about her business. And I just love that because she ran into a problem with a state agency getting set up. She didn't panic about that. She stayed steady. She got the problem corrected. And as the ethos would have it,
Mm-hmm.
immediately she was invited to participate in a subcontracting opportunity.
Really?
Just like that. And, and just to see the lights on and to see the excitement in the eyes of an entrepreneur doing what perhaps they thought they couldn't do a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
And so kudos to you, Lisa. Keep up the good work.
You know what? And I can't wait to have Lisa on the show. But to all of our other listeners, that lets you know that if Lisa can get into it and make it happen early on in her business, sometimes the difference between you and success is just good tutelage. Absolutely. And they are, everyone that was there last night was shouting your praises, and you're putting them in the best opportunity for them to be successful.
Right.
Hence, STL is participating in their first opportunity.
Absolutely.
So I look forward to hear more good things from them.
Yes.
All right, let's get to our guest. We got a great guest in this studio today. We're going to talk about one of those topics that every single person doesn't necessarily act upon, but they all should. So hopefully we're going to inspire people to action, because that's what we're about on this show. Our guest today is Mr. Dirk Moore, and Dirk is the senior counsel for a law firm by the name of Hughes, Waters, and Arcans. Am I saying that right, Dirk?
Askanese.
Askanese. I knew I was going to mess that up, and I'd been working on that for like 30 minutes. Askanese. Anyway, Dirk is a senior counsel with them, and he's helped the firm expand its reach into the areas of wills, probate, estate planning, and trusts. And Dirk also supports the firm's real estate and finance, business planning, and strategy practice areas. And we want to say welcome to Small Business today, Dirk.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Well, we appreciate having you. Now, let's jump headlong into this. And I want to start with, why do you think that more people do not get on the ball and think about the end? And the end is definitely coming. That's one of the things that we've all been promised. I know that at some point I'm going to have to cross that path, that I'm going to have to transition into the glory, as it were. And I'm just wondering, if we all know that, why do you believe that so many of us are just not willing to work on our wills, our probate, and that sort of thing?
Well, I think probably the main reason that people put that off is it's just not a subject anybody really wants to think about.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to a business owner, especially business owners that have young children. The idea that something could happen to them, and having to think about what that would mean, not only for the succession plan for their business and whether their business would, continue without them.
Mm-hmm.
But even more troubling to most people is the idea that, they're not going to be there to take care emotionally, financially, and otherwise of their children if something were to happen and, their children were still young. But one of the things I emphasize to everybody, I have clients who have children that have special needs.
Mm-hmm.
And so planning in instances like that is even more important.
Right.
But it's also even that much harder, I think, for them to want to really sit down and think those things through, because, nobody likes to think about death.
Yeah.
And
or our own mortality.
Right.
Right.
And, they say that the only two things that are certain are death and taxes, and that just happens to be the two issues that I deal with. And it's two issues that nobody likes.
Oh, absolutely. Now, taxes, I can understand. It burns me 10 ways to Sunday. But, you're right. You have to deal with it. It's something that it's best that you deal with it before it starts to deal with you.
Right.
Because it could be, a bear if you allow your situation to get to such that you're now dancing to their music, and they're putting pressures on you like only they can, and they being the IRS.
Right.
So with that being said, let's move into the areas that you work with your clients? Like, describe for me who your typical client would be.
Well, I'd say our most typical client is a small business owner who may or may not have taxable estate. One of the things that Congress and President Obama did to avert the fiscal cliff that everybody heard about was they made permanent the estate tax exemption rate, being it's a little over $5 million, and that's per person. And what that translates to is if you're a married couple and you have less than $10 million combined, and I know this goes out to people who live outside of community property states, but the same sort of concepts even apply there. If you have less than $10 million, you don't really have to do much in the way of estate tax planning.
Okay.
You need to be aware that a lot of things are included in your estate when it comes to the IRS figuring out whether or not they're going to tax you.
Okay.
Things like life insurance, IRAs. It's not just the money you have in your bank account and your stock accounts, and it's not.
So those other items that you have, those other instruments, could be subject to taxation as well.
Right. Basically, anything that you have any sort of property right in where you can control it. For instance, with life insurance, you can change the beneficiary right up until the moment of your death.
Wow.
And so.
And I'm sure people do.
Well, hopefully they plan and they don't have to. But there are ways to minimize estate taxes and to prevent estate taxes being imposed on you. But for most people, now that the estate tax exemption is $5 million a person, the need for estate planning is not as much of an estate tax issue as much as it is just a succession planning.
Now, what was that dollar amount before the new changes came into effect?
Well, it was set to go. It was $5 million, roughly $5 million last year. It was set to go back down to $1 million.
Okay.
But Congress and the president came to a deal and basically made the $5 million exemption permanent.
Okay. Well, we're going to go to short break. We're going to come back. We're going to pick up where we left off. Our guest today is Dirk Moore. He's a senior counsel with Hughes, Waters, and Askanese. And if you want to contact him at his law firm, well, you have to stick around. We'll give his information out in the next segment. Guys, I want to thank you for tuning in to Small Business Today with Cruz and Hughes. It's brought to you by Small Business Today magazine. It is the magazine that is for and about Houston's entrepreneurs. But even if you're not in the Houston footprint, it'd be something that's worth reading because we give you tools, tips, and information that can help you build any business. To get your free copy of the publication that we produce each and every month, all you have to do is go to smallbusinesstodaymagazine.com, input your information, and we'll send one to your email inbox each and every month. Stay with us. More with Dirk Moore right after this.
Turn up the sales on your website today with anythinginternet.com. Anything Internet will evaluate your website for marketing power, for traffic, for conversion rates. We'll figure out why people buy and why people go away. We'll help you generate the correct traffic that will turn into customers and make you money. Turn the juice up on your website today with anythinginternet.com. Turn your website into a web business. 1-800-686-5986.
Very often, people come to me saying,
Stephen, how do I make radio advertising work?
or even worse,
We've tried radio ads before and got little to no response.
so how do you make the radio work for you? Well, you could have a clever jingle.
Come buy my stuff. Come buy my stuff.
Or you may act crazy and loud and have an unbeatable offer.
I'll save you cash, I'll save you time, and I'll do it today, guaranteed.
But these techniques may work for some and not for others. The real key to advertising is to go back to basic marketing principles. Target your ideal prospect, make your message clear and concise, and touch the listener by connecting to their needs. Stephen K. Media specializes in radio advertising promotion that effectively broadcasts your company's message, yielding higher response and better results. As an independent agency representing major talk radio stations, we help you negotiate rates and place your ads targeting your ideal prospect. Call us today at 713-278-9109 or visit stephenk.biz. That's 713-278-9109 or email info@stephenk.biz. Are you looking to improve your health and well-being? Have you lost your energy and vitality? Do you wake up feeling 10 years older than you actually are? Looking for a doctor who really listens? Looking for a natural alternative to your chronic health challenge? Dr. Dan Cooney is a chiropractic nutritionist who helps restore your health from the inside out using whole food supplements and specific nutritional counseling. Learn more about Dr. Dan's 7 Pillars of Health on his website, drdancooney.com, or give him a call at 713-295-9358.
Introducing the alternative to heavy news. Now at,
Excuse me, heavy news?
you know, disasters, politics, stock market,
And this alternative is
coffee news. It's entertaining stories, famous quotes, and family fun. It's life news. Why it's so light, it's free.
free.
In restaurants and coffee shops all across Houston. So next time you're waiting in a restaurant, look for coffee news. If they don't have it, tell them to get it by visiting coffeenewshouston.com.
It's light. It's free. It's coffee news.
With my Plantronics Voyager Pro Plus headset, I'm free. Free to talk to you while carrying a laptop bag, holding a cup of coffee, and fishing for my car keys. Now, you may ask me, Jim, is it really necessary to use the phone while doing all these things? My answer is it really necessary not to? Plantronics Voyager Pro Plus. It's my so comfortable, why wouldn't I use it all day headset.
Get your Voyager Pro Plus at Plantronics.com.
You're listening to Small Business Today. Visit us on the web at cruzandhughes.com. Here are your hosts, Cruz and Hughes.
Okay, welcome back to the show. Urban and I are talking to Mr. Dirk Moore. He is a senior counsel with Hughes, Waters, and Askanese. He focuses on estate planning, probate, wills, and those sorts of things, and he does that for small business people. So if you'd like to give him a phone call, you can reach him at 713-328-2865. Again, his telephone number is 713-328-2865, or you can go to his business website, which is hwa.com. Now, we're sitting here and we're talking about wills and those sorts of things, and the first segment we talked about, some of these limits, these new limits that have been set by Congress.
Right.
What does it make you think about?
I want to know who is supposed to have a will then. That's what I want to know.
So you think there's certain people perhaps then that
I don't know
are excluded?
But I'm sitting here with an attorney, and I'm absolutely going to ask this question.
Well, then who should have a will?
So who should have a will, Dirk?
Well, really, I would say everybody needs to have a will. And there's a lot of reasons for that. One of the main ones is your property, if you don't have a will pass pursuant to whatever state you live in. They're called intestacy statutes, which basically intestacy means you don't have a will. And so each legislature produces a scheme where to address how property passes when somebody doesn't have a will. And especially today, where we have more and more second marriages, families that have children from more than one marriage, the schemes that are in place are not often what you would want how you would want your property to pass when you pass away. So
now that's pretty interesting. I never really thought about that. So let's say that I get married. My wife has 2 children from a previous marriage, and I myself may have 3 children.
So you're talking about a blended family.
A blended family.
Right. Okay.
And let's say we stay married 20 or 30 years and we amass a sizable estate, and I pass away. Are those children that are from a previous relationship now, do they have interest in the estate that my wife and I have created?
They do.
Okay.
And, obviously I'm only speaking with regard to Texas law.
Certainly.
But in the situation that you just set forth, if you passed away and didn't have a will, you're going to have 2 types of property. One of them is going to be the community property that you and your then wife have accumulated over the course of your marriage.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have your separate property, which is any property that you brought into the marriage. And the Texas statutes provide for that property to pass slightly differently. First thing, your wife's children, who would be your stepchildren, children who you've likely have a relationship with and might want to benefit to some extent, they're not going to inherit anything.
Really?
Your community property. So in other words, let's say you and your wife bought a house. You've lived in it for 20 years. It's paid off, but it's community property. So you own an undivided half interest in that house, and your wife does as her portion of the community property. You as your portion. Your portion of the community property, because you have children from a different marriage, would pass to those children and not to your surviving spouse. And that's not, normally that's not what people would want. Most of the time, people are going to want their spouse to, if not outright inherit, at least have the benefit of the property, the assets, not just houses, but bank accounts.
Absolutely.
Things
businesses.
like that.
Right. But now, answer this for me, Dirk. Now, let's say that I do pass away and I don't have a will in place. Who's making these decisions as to who gets what?
Basically the legislature, but because it passes pursuant to the Texas Probate Code.
So basically a judge is making the decisions on who gets or
It's not even the judge. The intestacy statutes have been around.
Okay, so the law just says this has to happen.
Right, and they obviously have roots going way back, to the beginning of the state.
Okay.
And so
the nation of Texas.
Yes.
The Republic.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
So it can get dicey, especially when, as is often the case, children from a prior marriage may or may not particularly get along with your second spouse.
Ouch.
Right. And so
does that happen?
Oh yeah, right.
And so if all of a sudden your surviving spouse is in the position where she still has some homestead rights, she can't be forced out of the home by your children from a prior marriage, but she does have to deal with them. And if you were to instead visit an estate planning attorney, get a will in place, even if you don't have an estate that's large enough that you have to worry about estate taxes, this is just one example of the type of issue that's non-tax related that makes it important for people to address their testamentary planning, their estate planning, aside from any tax concerns. So what I typically try to emphasize as well is that when you have it, Texas is a state that fortunately has a very friendly probate system if you take advantage of it. And one of the ways you can take advantage of it is to have an independent executor of your estate. And what that means is the executor, who is the person that is in charge of settling your estate, paying all your debts, and then distributing your property to those who are to inherit. If they're an independent executor, they get appointed by the court, and then they do whatever has to be done.
Now,
and it's free from court control.
Yeah, I was about to ask. Now, if the court is going to appoint the guy, now who controls that guy?
Well, if it's an independent administration, which is one of the good points about Texas probate system, you really act free from court control. I mean, you're still a fiduciary, so you're still subject to fiduciary duties.
Sure.
Ultimately, you owe those fiduciary duties to the beneficiaries of the estate.
So can I pick who I want to be my executor?
You can if you have a will. If you don't have a will, then again, you go back to the probate code and it lists who has priority. And first priority is your spouse.
So that's what you meant by the scheme of how property moves around?
Well, kind of two different things. The intestacy statutes say who the property passes to.
Sure.
There's also a statute in the probate code which says who has priority to be appointed as the administrator of your estate.
Got it.
and your surviving spouse has the top priority, they have to be, they can't be disqualified, which basically means they have to be a resident of the state and they can't have any felony convictions. As long as that is the case, they pretty much can have priority and get appointed.
Hold on a second, but if they have a felony conviction, that changes that.
Right.
Wow.
So Dirk, is there like a map or something that somebody can go by? I mean, how do people like you figure out, all right, this is the person who has priority, this is the next person in line, and so on, and property goes, left, right, forward, back, every which kind of way. I mean, does somebody have a map or something that you go by?
It's the probate code. It's mapped out in the probate code. It's just a matter of, I mean, obviously, since I practice in this area, I'm familiar with it, and but anybody can look it up if you're interested in finding out what would happen to your property if you didn't have a will. You pull up the probate code and turn to the statutes that talk about how your property passes, how your community property passes, how your separate property passes. But again, if you take the time and get a will in place, you dictate how your property passes. And there are any number of tools that you can use so that you might want to benefit, for instance, your surviving spouse, but make sure that whatever's left when she passes away benefits only your children and not, maybe not hers, or you
can control that is the bottom line.
Yeah, and you can allocate it how you want to, but you have to have a will to do that.
We're going to go to a short break. When we come back, I'd like to hear a horror story or two that you've seen, and I'm certain that you've seen many. So think of one or two of what could happen if you don't just take the time to get this done now.
Absolutely. Let me tell you what, folks, we're here right now with Dirk Moore, and he is the senior counsel at Hughes, Waters, and Askenase. Did I get it right? Oh, okay, all right. Well, I did the best I could. Stay with us, folks. You're listening to Small Business Today with Cruz and Hughes. It's brought to you by RingCentral.com. To get RingCentral's virtual PBX for your business, you can give them a call today at 888-716-5022. Stay with us, folks. The education continues right after this.
Are you looking to improve your health and well-being? Have you lost your energy and vitality? Do you wake up feeling 10 years older than you actually are? Looking for a doctor who really listens? Looking for a natural alternative to your chronic health challenge? Dr. Dan Cuny is a chiropractic nutritionist who helps restore your health from the inside out using whole food supplements and specific nutritional counseling. Learn more about Dr. Dan's 7 Pillars of Health on his website, drdancuny.com, or give him a call at 713-295-9358.
Introducing the alternative to heavy news. Now at...
Excuse me, heavy news?
You know, disasters, politics, stock market.
And this alternative is...
Coffee news. It's entertaining stories, famous quotes, and family fun. It's light news. Why it's so light, it's free.
Free?
In restaurants and coffee shops all across Houston. So next time you're waiting in a restaurant, look for coffee news. If they don't have it, tell them to get it by visiting coffeenewshouston.com.
It's light. It's free. It's coffee news.
With my Plantronics Voyager Pro Plus headset, I'm free. Free to talk to you while carrying a laptop bag, holding a cup of coffee, and fishing for my car keys. Now, you may ask me, Jim, is it really necessary to use the phone while doing all these things? My answer is it really necessary not to? Plantronics Voyager Pro Plus. It's my so comfortable, why wouldn't I use it all day headset.
Get your Voyager Pro Plus at Plantronics.com.
Turn up the sales on your website today with anythinginternet.com. Anything Internet will evaluate your website for marketing power, for traffic, for conversion rates. We'll figure out why people buy and why people go away. We'll help you generate the correct traffic that will turn into customers and make you money. Turn the juice up on your website today with anythinginternet.com. Turn your website into a web business. 1-800-686-5986.
Very often, people come to me saying,
Stephen, how do I make radio advertising work?
or even worse,
We tried radio ads before and got little to no response.
so how do you make the radio work for you? Well, you could have a clever jingle.
Come buy my stuff. Come buy my stuff.
Or you may act crazy and loud and have an unbeatable offer.
I'll save you cash. I'll save you time, and I'll do it today, guaranteed.
But these techniques may work for some and not for others. The real key to advertising is to go back to basic marketing principles. Target your ideal prospect, make your message clear and concise, and touch the listener by connecting to their needs. Stephen K. Media specializes in radio advertising promotion that effectively broadcasts your company's message, yielding higher response and better results. As an independent agency representing major talk radio stations, we help you negotiate rates and place your ads targeting your ideal prospect. Call us today at 713-278-9109 or visit stephenk.biz. That's 713-278-9109 or email info@stephenk.biz.
You're listening to Small Business Today with Cruz and Hughes. Follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. We're wherever you are.
Okay, welcome back to the show. Our guest today is Mr. Dirk Moore. He is senior counsel with Hughes, Waters, and Askanese. I want to make sure I get that right before he leaves today. But if you have a question that you'd like to ask Dirk, you can either go right into the chat room and put your question in there, and Stephen K. will make certain that we give attention to it. Also, you can give us a phone call at 347-857-3958. Again, the number here to the studio is 347-857-3958. Now, Dirk, when we went to break, I wanted you to think of one of the worst horror stories that you could possibly remember and share that with individuals as a motivation to go ahead, take the time, sit down with an attorney and plan your estate, create a will, and just say who gets what at the time of your demise.
Sure. I think probably the one that I've seen and encountered the most is when somebody passes away. And kind of similar to what we were talking about, where it's a situation where they have children from prior relationships, they're married to somebody else when they pass away, the person they're married to has children from their own separate. And what tends to happen is the conflicts that were always kind of under the surface come to the forefront. And you know they say you don't really know somebody until you share an inheritance with them. And unfortunately, you know, people do some things that you just wouldn't think they would.
And I'm certain that people are left dumbfounded at times. You know, when it's time to decide again who gets what.
Right, and you know, there's also unfortunately there's some hurt feelings that can occur.
I mean, I'm sure you've seen families pretty much split up over this type of stuff too.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely. I mean, I've seen families who the surviving spouse had to, because there wasn't a will, had to enter into agreements to settle the estate, to make a division of property that put some pressure on them financially. That you know, had their spouse actually put a will in place, probably would have left everything to them in one way or another, so that they were taken care of as comfortably as possible for the rest of their life. And in the end, you know, that there can be some bitterness. I've seen that, and you just don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
After you pass away.
That
you hate
familial division,
right.
You know, it's just not worth it. But you know, I can understand how people act. Now, you know, one of the things I'm sitting here thinking, some small business people are of the mindset that, you know what, I've poured everything that I own into this business, and all I really am is this business. I'll get a will down the line once I grow the company, and you know, and you know, because I don't want to have to come back and keep modifying and changing it. What do you say to someone with that mindset? And secondly, how often should I look to modify whatever will that I have put in place?
Well, I think just as a general rule of thumb, anytime you have a major change financially, a major change in your family, if you know, if your spouse passes away or you get a divorce, anything like that, that's a good time to go back and look at your will. And if you don't have a will, what I would always emphasize is nobody knows when they're going to pass away.
Right.
Whether it's before you've got your business
Right.
to the point where you want it to be, to the point where you think you need to then address it. You should always address it up front, because it's, you're planning for your financial assets to pass to your family or whoever you want to benefit. And part of estate planning is also providing for the succession plan for your business, not just financially, but if you have 3 kids, odds are at least one of them might have no aptitude or any interest in being in the business.
Sure.
I've seen that.
But you want to make sure that at the end of the day, that all 3 kids feel like they, assuming you have, the same relationship, you want all 3 to feel like they did, get something in the end that's somewhat equivalent to the brother maybe who ended up taking over the business.
Got you.
And so, every small business owner should do that planning sooner than later, not just for all the reasons to make sure you have a will, whether you're a small business owner, whether you work for a Fortune 500 company and just, you draw a salary and just put it away. There's also, when you're a small business owner, a lot of business succession planning that you need to be thinking about. And it takes time, and those things will change over time.
Yeah.
And you're never going to be assured that what you want to happen and what you're planning on happening right now is going to be the same thing in 5 years or 10 years.
Yeah.
And you just have to stay in touch with your financial advisors and make sure that you're always addressing those things. And obviously with small business owners, one of the biggest assets of the small business is you. And one of the things you need to address is figuring out who's going to run the business if something happens to you, whether you just become disabled or you pass away. There may be a situation, especially if you're a small business owner and you have non-family partners. You don't want to pass away and see that asset have no real value to your family afterwards.
Sure.
And so we help small business owners plan through the use of things like key man life insurance. We don't sell insurance, obviously. But we have professionals that we can, financial planners and things of that nature, we can refer people to help, and just really as a team, make sure that all issues are being addressed, and so that way there's some continuity in the business, and that there's also value in what you've built up over your lifetime to pass to your spouse and your children.
Now, Dirk, I want to ask you a question, because I kind of want to switch gears here, because a lot of our listening audience, these guys are small business owners, and they're looking for ways to do deals or things, what have you. And oftentimes I run into small business owners who have questions about trusts. And to me, I'm not sure. I'm asking the question, what is a clear definition of a trust? What is a trust?
Well, at the most basic level, a trust is an arrangement where someone holds property for the benefit of somebody else.
Okay.
And the person who holds the property is the trustee, and the person who is the beneficiary is entitled to the privileges of that property is the beneficiary of the trust. And the trust itself, a trust is really just an arrangement.
Okay.
One of the main reasons that people use trusts, one of the main reasons is actually to be able to control things after they pass away.
I see.
Going back to some of our earlier discussions, when you have a mixed family situation, if you were to leave all your property to your surviving spouse, the surviving spouse is free to do whatever they want with it. They may benefit only their children. They may spend it all. It can go a number of different ways. So one of the main reasons is to try to make sure that there's property passes ultimately the way you want it to, while not necessarily giving full control of it to whoever you want to primarily benefit.
Now, does the trustee act on behalf of the beneficiaries, and do the beneficiaries control the actions of the trustee? Can a trustee just go out and do anything that he or she wants to do with the property?
No, they can't do anything they want to do. They have some pretty broad discretion in most trust instruments, but a trustee is a fiduciary, so they're
acting on the behalf.
Right. They're always going to be held to a fiduciary duty with respect to the beneficiaries, and that's as far as the law is concerned. That's one of the highest levels of responsibility, and you're held to a very high standard. So the trustee has to, especially with the trust, you're going to have somebody who maybe benefits during their lifetime, and when they pass away, it goes to somebody else. The trustee has to look out not only for the person who's currently receiving income distributions or other distributions, but also making sure that there's something there for the people who get it after that person passes away.
Gotcha.
Okay, well, you know what? We're going to take a short break. And you know what? When we come back, we had a question to come up in the chat room, and I'm going to ask you to address that. And the question is, what do you do if you're a business owner and you literally have no one else to leave the business to? What do you do? So I'm going to give you time to think about that for when we come back. You're listening to Small Business Today with Cruz and Hughes. It's brought to you by SalesNexus.com. Folks, SalesNexus offers the best in web-based customer relationship management systems. You can sign up today for a free trial copy of SalesNexus by visiting SalesNexus.com or calling 888-267-3589. Stay with us, folks. More with Dirk right after this.
Turn up the sales on your website today with anythinginternet.com. Anything Internet will evaluate your website for marketing power, for traffic, for conversion rates. We'll figure out why people buy and why people go away. We'll help you generate the correct traffic that will turn into customers and make you money. Turn the deuce up on your website today with anythinginternet.com. Turn your website into a web business. 1-800-686-5986.
Very often, people come to me saying,
Stephen, how do I make radio advertising work?
Or even worse,
We've tried radio ads before and got little to no response.
so how do you make the radio work for you? Well, you could have a clever jingle.
Come buy my stuff. Come buy my stuff.
Or you may act crazy and loud and have an unbeatable offer.
I'll save you cash. I'll save you time, and I'll do it today, guaranteed.
But these techniques may work for some and not for others. The real key to advertising is to go back to basic marketing principles. Target your ideal prospect, make your message clear and concise, and touch the listener by connecting to their needs. Stephen K. Media specializes in radio advertising promotion that effectively broadcasts your company's message, yielding higher response and better results. As an independent agency representing major talk radio stations, we help you negotiate rates and place your ads targeting your ideal prospect. Call us today at 713-278-9109 or visit stephenk.biz. That's 713-278-9109 or email info@stephenk.biz. Are you looking to improve your health and well-being? Have you lost your energy and vitality? Do you wake up feeling 10 years older than you actually are? Looking for a doctor who really listens? Looking for a natural alternative to your chronic health challenge? Dr. Dan Cuney is a chiropractic nutritionist who helps restore your health from the inside out using whole food supplements and specific nutritional chemicals. Learn more about Dr. Dan's 7 Pillars of Health on his website, drdancuney.com, or give him a call at 713-295-9358.
Introducing the alternative to heavy news. Now at...
Excuse me, heavy news?
You know, disasters, politics, stock market.
And this alternative is?
Coffee news. It's entertaining stories, famous quotes, and family fun. It's light news. Why it's so light, it's free.
Free?
In restaurants and coffee shops all across Houston. So next time you're waiting in a restaurant, look for coffee news. If they don't have it, tell them to get it by visiting coffeenewshouston.com.
It's light. It's free. It's coffee news.
With my Plantronics Voyager Pro Plus headset, I'm free. Free to talk to you while carrying a laptop bag, holding a cup of coffee, and fishing for my car keys. Now, you may ask me, Jim, is it really necessary to use the phone while doing all these things? My answer is it really necessary not to? Plantronics Voyager Pro Plus. It's my so comfortable, why wouldn't I use it all day headset.
Get your Voyager Pro Plus at Plantronics.com.
You're listening to Small Business Today. Visit us on the web at cruzandhughes.com. Here are your hosts, Cruz and Hughes.
Okay, welcome back to the show. We have Mr. Dirk Moore in the studio with us. He is the senior counsel with Hughes, Waters, and Askanese. And if you'd like to get in touch with Dirk, you can get in touch with him two ways, actually. You could contact his office at 713-328-2865. Again, that telephone number is 713-328-2865. Or you can go to his website, which is hwa.com. Now, before we go to the question that you set up in the last segment,
Sure.
I do want to ask, Dirk, do you practice in all states, or is it just a certain number of states that you focus on?
Well, I'm only licensed in Texas,
Okay. So everything that you do is for Texas residents.
Right.
Okay. All right.
Well, for Texas residents or people who have, sometimes if you have property in Texas, there may be a need to probate somebody who was a resident of another state, died in another state.
I got you. Okay.
Handled the probate for that, but that's very rare.
Okay. Why don't you read that question again, Irvin?
Yeah, so, Dirk, the question was, what does a person do if they're a business owner and they have no one to leave the business to? What happens in that? Even if maybe that's not something that we can address directly, but what happens if there's nobody to leave the business to?
Well, I guess there's a couple of different issues at play there. The first is if you don't have anybody, if by that you mean you don't have anybody in your family that you want to leave the business to, but you do have family that you want to benefit from your estate, how do you monetize that? And one of the ways to do that is obviously to sell your business, but obviously not everybody wants to sell their business.
Right, because again, like you said, we don't know when we're going to die.
Right, you don't know. Having a good succession plan in place applies not just to situations where you envision your children or a nephew, whoever that's related to you, succeeding and taking over the business after you pass away, but it's also making sure the business continues in place if that's not the case. And so, I can't really tell somebody how to necessarily run their business or what's the best way, but that's something that they need to be thinking about if they don't have somebody in their family. What is it that's really marketable about their business?
I see.
So that if something were to happen to them, the family members who are not going to step in and are not going to run the business would be able to sell it to somebody else. If it's some businesses just by nature, or especially service businesses, are very dependent upon the person who is at the center of it.
Right.
I guess really a follow-on to that is, if there's literally no one in the family, should a business owner consider maybe liquidating if they pass away? And now that creates an estate. Can they put in their will maybe that any money that comes out of this as a result of liquidating any assets that may be in the estate, can that go to charities? Can that go to friends? Can that go to, I don't know. I mean, I've heard crazy stuff like, I've left my estate to my dog and my cat. Is there a rule or something that somebody can or can't do with regard to leaving that business to somebody or something?
There's very few limits. You pretty much can leave your assets to anybody.
Okay.
And I think the question kind of comes around to if a business owner passes away, doesn't have anybody to succeed them in operating the business, the business may at that point just liquidate. Sell its assets, pay its debts, and what's left over goes to whoever they
appoint.
Whoever they say they want the property to go to, hopefully under their will.
So the bottom line is they need to have a will. Even if you don't have anybody to leave anything to, you need to designate somebody or something.
Right. Charities
or
are always a good option.
give an instruction on what you want to have happen here.
Right.
Okay.
Or leave the business to your employees who helped you build it. I mean,
sure.
If you don't have anybody else, I mean, why not do that?
Right. That's right.
And that's a great way to bring in talent and get other people on board. If you're letting them know, hey, I don't have any family, but I'm leaving the business to the people who helped me build it.
Sure.
I know I'd stick around and help you do everything that I could.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I got more of an interest in the outcome than I would if I were just an employee.
John would probably say, I still got the shovel.
Now, Dirk, tell me a little bit about your backstory. What made you decide on becoming an attorney?
Well, I know at a young age I was interested in being an attorney, just watching TV shows and movies and just thinking it looked like something that would be fun to do. But what really pushed me in that direction is I was an English major in undergrad, and there's just not a whole lot out there for English majors. So
you could teach, or
you could teach or go to law school. And so I decided to go to law school, and while I was there, I was at University of Texas Law School, and one of the professors is a gentleman named Stanley Johansson. He's well known across the country as a estate planning probate expert, and he's a good professor.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't necessarily enjoy every class in law school, and I really enjoyed the classes I had from him, and kind of realized that part of this practice is more, any attorney feels like they're helping their client, whatever they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in estate planning in particular, you're helping an entire family, usually without there being a lot of conflict. And part of your job, and hopefully part of what you accomplish, is removing conflict from the equation.
Right.
So,
right.
And that's just something that, to me, is satisfying to do those types of things. And like we were just talking about, things that you can do if you don't have anyone to leave the business to. One of them is charity. So, that's something that I always bring up to clients. And just at the end of the day, it's a lot. People who go to trial all the time who are litigators, it takes a certain personality, and
right.
That I realized that wasn't me.
That's not you, right?
It's very rare we do too much in the way of probate litigation. We certainly do it, but hopefully, if the client comes to us on the front end, gets some estate planning done, the probate process goes smoothly, everybody is as happy as they can be, and
you don't spend a lot of time in court.
No.
Wow. Now, before we go to break, I know one of the things that people are under the impression of is that it can be very expensive to get a will done, to get your estate planned and properly designed for. Is that the case always?
Well, it really varies. I mean, when people ask me how much would it cost for you to do my will, one of the ways I can always illustrate it to them is to say, well, how much would it cost you to build me a house? Well, obviously it depends on how many rooms that house has granite countertops, whatever. And estate planning is the same way. Somebody who has a lot of money, it might not take me that long to do the estate plan because they want to leave everything to their spouse.
Gotcha. But the more complicated this can get, naturally.
Right. And obviously, if we're having to do some estate tax planning, it's going to be more expensive just because it's more complicated planning. If you want to itemize every knickknack you have in your house and how you want to leave that, it's going to be more expensive.
Gotcha.
Attorneys, we tend to charge by the hour, so the time spent translates to the fee.
Okay.
Well, that's attorney fees for you. Absolutely. Thanks so much for that, Dirk. That's great stuff. Folks, you're listening to Small Business Today with Cruz and Hughes. It's brought to you by Dominion Commercial Credit. Are you tired of carrying your business on your personal credit cards? Dominion Commercial Credit offers business credit and contract financing for small businesses nationwide. Give them a call today at 800-381-0073 or visit www.net30credit.com. Stay with us, folks. We're in the home stretch. We'll be right back.
Are you looking to improve your health and well-being? Have you lost your energy and vitality? Do you wake up feeling 10 years older than you actually are? Looking for a doctor who really listens? Looking for a natural alternative to your chronic health challenge? Dr. Dan Cuney is a chiropractic nutritionist who helps restore your health from the inside out using whole food supplements and specific nutritional counseling. Learn more about Dr. Dan's 7 Pillars of Health on his website, drdancuney.com, or give him a call at 713-295-9358.
Introducing the alternative to heavy news. Now,
Excuse me, heavy news?
you know, disasters, politics, stock market.
And this alternative is...
Coffee news. It's entertaining stories, famous quotes, and family fun. It's light news. Why it's so light, it's free.
Free?
In restaurants and coffee shops all across Houston. So next time you're waiting in a restaurant, look for coffee news. If they don't have it, tell them to get it by visiting coffeenewshouston.com.
It's light. It's free. It's coffee news.
With my Plantronics Voyager Pro Plus headset, I'm free. Free to talk to you while carrying a laptop bag, holding a cup of coffee, and fishing for my car keys. Now, you may ask me, Jim, is it really necessary to use the phone while doing all these things? My answer is it really necessary not to? Plantronics Voyager Pro Plus. It's my so comfortable, why wouldn't I use it all day headset.
Get your Voyager Pro Plus at Plantronics.com.
Turn up the sales on your website today with anythinginternet.com. Anything Internet will evaluate your website for marketing power, for traffic, for conversion rates. We'll figure out why people buy and why people go away. We'll help you generate the correct traffic that will turn into customers and make you money. Turn the juice up on your website today with anythinginternet.com. Turn your website into a web business. 1-800-686-5986.
Very often, people come to me saying,
Steven, how do I make radio advertising work?
or even worse,
We've tried radio ads before and got little to no response.
so how do you make the radio work for you? Well, you could have a clever jingle.
Come buy my stuff. Come buy my stuff.
Or you may act crazy and loud and have an unbeatable offer.
I'll save you cash, I'll save you time, and I'll do it today, guaranteed.
But these techniques may work for some and not for others. The real key to advertising is to go back to basic marketing principles. Target your ideal prospect, make your message clear and concise, and touch the listener by connecting to their needs. Stephen K. Media specializes in radio advertising promotion that effectively broadcasts your company's message, yielding higher response and better results. As an independent agency representing major talk radio stations, we help you negotiate rates and place your ads targeting your ideal prospect. Call us today at 713-278-9109 or visit stephenk.biz. That's 713-278-9109 or email info@stephenk.biz.
You're listening to Small Business Today with Cruz and Hughes. Follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. We're wherever you are.
Okay, welcome back to the show. We've had a great show with Mr. Dirk Moore today. Guys, if you want to get in touch with Dirk, remember he's the senior counsel at Hughes, Waters, and Askenase. And he can be contacted at 713-328-2865. So if you're in Texas, if you own property here, or if you have any questions, please give him a phone call. Again, that number is 713-328-2865. Now, Dirk, at the break, we talked a little bit about guardianship and the fact that that adds a different element to your planning.
Right.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, guardianship is of particular interest if you have children under the age of 18 or anyone who that you want to benefit that may be incapacitated, disability, or whatever. Guardianship in Texas is expensive in that it's very court controlled. The court oversees everything that has to be done. The guardian who is appointed, there's a guardian of the person and a guardian of the estate. The guardian of the person is who would take physical custody of your children, take care of them in that manner. The guardian of the estate is in charge of any money that they inherit or that they come into because of your death or otherwise. And the court oversees the administration, which means every time you want to make an expenditure or take any sort of action, you have to go to court, which requires you to hire an attorney, pay some court costs. It gets expensive, especially for those with maybe more moderate estates. Or modest estates, it's more important to think about getting a will in place because you can set up a trust arrangement which will avoid the necessity to have a guardian appointed to oversee those funds.
Well, Dirk, I want to say thanks for coming in and talking about your business today, and I anticipate that people will definitely be giving you a call after hearing this.
Great, I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Guys, we want to thank you for tuning in to Small Business Today with Cruz and Hughes. I'm John Cruz.
I'm Irv Hughes.
And this is the place where we discuss the topics that inspires entrepreneurs from thought to action. So until tomorrow, be smart, be successful, and above all else,
be in action.
And Irv and I will see you tomorrow.
Take care.